anything with it at this point. Yeah, we're going to import it. But we're not going to do anything with it. So we know you got the right one, so you close yours, you close yours, you close yours. You got to write the name down so you know what to get when we go and import it. You know where it is. It's on H drive, crop planning folder, direct AG with the little L. Okay, close it. Close it. Okay, you only have transport. Okay. Wait, close it out. You got the right one. Just use the default image. Okay. Just close it out. Icon. Yeah. Okay. Hey, are y'all going to do this exercise? Close out that, and then he's going to tell you where to go. You got add square to import.
So let's go back into the crops tool and add square. You'll notice that there's an import button.
Let's go back to add square, everybody.
So if you hover your cursor over import, scroll down.
Wait a minute, where are we?
We're in the crops tool.
Okay.
And then you'll notice that there's a crop button, the planting button, the harvest button, and then the import button.
Yes, CSV, import, export. We're in the crop planning button.
When you click import plantings, this is where you can import your spreadsheet. So you have the option to import plantings that are directly sown,
which is what we've identified at this point.
Or you could do transplants, but we're going to stick with directly sown. And so now you make sure that button's clicked. There's a little black dot in it. And then you're going to click choose file.
Okay, now we're going to navigate back to the H drive. Okay, you might have to click on computer, H drive, crops, direct AG with the A on it.
Click open. And so you can see that file name, direct AG, has been uploaded. Sorry, let's do it again.
And it'll show you the list of crops too. I don't know why you got problems. You got the wrong.
And then once that file has been added, does everyone have to see that file has been added?
There you go. Yeah. So you'll see all your different crops. So these are our direct seeded crops.
Click upload.
So if you've done that, then you have 1/2 of all your crops. One of them have 40 crops, another one has 65. So now you got almost.
Yeah, I'm getting an error too.
Okay, you're doing transfer.
You got the error too. This dude is twice. So just hit upload. Alright, go to choose file again. And then scroll all the way down. Yeah, see, it's not here. Just scroll down, it's a special file. That. Yeah, I guess that's what it's about. Yes. Yeah, I didn't see your way. And then I guess it's something to make everything. I'm guessing. That's my process.
download template. We have a button template. So you can scroll all the way down. This is like how they import.
Okay. So you can just populate that. Okay.
Save it some time for us.
Okay, you want to import file?
So this is the template, so you can just copy it between this
Save. Okay, are you there?
Scroll down.
So it's pretty no, quick save.
Oh, good.
Second amendment. But
Wait,
I
so
guess
go back to, go back to,
I don't know.
create your file. It's
It's right here. Yeah, I can't figure anything out.
okay, now go up here to this next to the back.
Import, export.
Where it says
And then we import here.
yeah, you go there. No, go down to import package.
It's for all the way down.
Look, go back to create file.
You guys got all your props showing? That's the first half. All right. Now, let's see if I don't think I have the right. Okay, look in that file. So, never mind. So we'll just do this one now and move forward.
So I'm going to click save so you can
That's a good idea.
Are you in
You're gonna go to here, and then you're gonna go to here.
yeah, you're
H, and then.
So I'm going to go ahead and click save and you'll notice
Go to, save out.
again import sample page.
And then go over here to
You can just change your free trial to be that's limited plantings, not total. So I can't import all of them.
H. You didn't write down?
okay, you over here, go to the red page. And then
So you can see all those now
go
you're
back.
just like it was going out. You don't hear already.
It should come up.
But you do now have to go and enter it.
Okay, import manager. Choose file.
Yeah, which is so when you go, you have to tell it. You go and
Go back. Go back.
yeah, it's just when you put this information on yeah, I mean, I don't know how you play this kind of thing. I mean, an easy way, the way to stay organized is just one per row, one species per row. Yeah, so if you're gonna
Okay, everybody got props? You got props?
then you can work backwards like I showed you.
Everybody got props? Yeah, we got props. I'm gonna show you how to get a real picture. Just pick the right icon. You figure out what it is. There ain't no sharing it.
If you're gonna do, let's say,
You gotta share
three
it.
rows,
Let's go to red.
finish and three rows.
Cherry it already.
Right, you can use
That's
that.
the but the main red they use is a cherry that looks kind of like that. It's now in the R's, but they don't put all that stuff on there. You gotta figure out what the R's are. Rutabaker, stuff like that. You know what a real baker looks like? Like a furnace. Oh.
Yeah, so now
Okay, now what do y'all call it? I just like it.
Look where I am.
I got it in between.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, so it's, I'll take my stone. I'm picking my images from Johnny. Oh, that's where I'm getting my images from. And the rest of the crop information. That's a whole lot of work. That's why I don't have all my paintings.
all right. Your issue here is that you're using the wrong
Detroit Red is a red.
so you need to log out.
We'll just use this. Save it.
You'll have to log back into App Store and then go through that process.
I'm saving
This
this
browser
in that file.
where you can see
So now we'll go back to
it just is an
extract.
where I got somewhere App Store. You log in here.
Right there.
You're good. Your plantings are in.
It just went back to this page. I had it up.
You're like what?
I went,
Yeah, so you click save all those plantings that are constructed in your left-hand side.
oh, okay.
This ain't gonna be
So
for
you're
sale.
going to
It's fine.
App Store.
So, this is where I work. But I'm too much.
And then you're going to re-log in.
I've been working for this for 10 years. Yeah. They just now got training in a year.
Okay.
I'm just leading it. It's only been
How long actually?
A little over 2 years.
Okay, so I've been working for them.
So now you guys have a lot more crops and plantings than I do in your account, which is fine. So we've gone over how to create crops, how to create plantings. We've also looked at how to.
Can we do one planting out of the crops that they?
Oh, sure.
Let's plant.
How do you input it?
Yeah. Let's plant Mocone.
Well, I don't.
Oh, you don't have a signature.
Yeah, there's just signature through less. Or
Okay. Why don't you import that stuff?
I can't because of you changed the free trial and I can only get through. That's not everyone else's case, but it just happened yesterday. I can.
Okay.
We use one of these.
Why don't we hook the thing up here?
Okay, or I'll do a quick little workaround. Which do you want me to work with? Carrot? Mobile?
Here. It's a type of carrot. There's a variety of carrot.
What is that?
Mocone is just one of the
I've
varieties.
never heard of Mocha.
Carrot,
Yeah, the neighbor.
It's a Nanny's. Nancy's.
Nancy, one of the Nancy's.
You got all this data. I have all the data's on my computer.
Okay. So I'm just going to do this.
Green. Okay, we're going to do a planting from what we just imported, okay? So pay attention, then you can do it yourself.
Don't pay attention. Yeah.
Not yet.
Don't pay attention to that.
Okay, I didn't save it.
stuff to set up. But I think, I haven't done planting for a while.
Can't do one of these.
Huh?
You can't do spinach or.
Well, is that planting? Okay, that's what we imported?
Yeah.
Okay, here, take one of those.
Okay.
Okay, blue baby spinach or whatever.
So click on the spinach crop.
I think I did the spinach.
No, this is my account.
Okay.
So if you click on your spinach crop and click on Corvair variety, which is being planted on the 31st of March.
Okay, everybody got it? You looking in your... Okay, what we doing now? Okay, let's follow the instructions. Okay. So, fine spinach. What spinach are we going for?
Corvair.
Okay, Corvair.
So now you can see here that the information's been imported, the initial sowing date, the begin harvest date, and the end harvest date. Also the total row length, depending on the size of your beds, this may or may not be accurate, but
What does that say?
the total 450.
That's a multiple of 25? So that's multiplying the number of rows you have in the bin.
So now if you want to sort of make this planting fit for your farm, you want to click Edit Sowing Details. And now you can assign this planting to a location, and you can go in and enter in things like the number of seeds, your bed length, expected harvest. And a lot of this information is on the other spreadsheet.
Okay, it's in your spreadsheet. All that information you take from your spreadsheet. Which spreadsheet is that?
This is probably Corvair. Here we go.
Okay, that's Crop Plan D that has everything. So you go...
Spreadsheet is in an H drive, I guess. It's
On the H drive.
Small farm crop plans resources.
Okay. By the way, we haven't done the transplant. We'll do that later before we go. We've got the direct. Then we're going to point to transplant. Then you should be able to, on paper, figure out everything that you want to plant. Then you can create a seed purchase list. It should add up. Maybe it'll add up all your costs. Well, all the numbers of your seeds. Then you can figure out the cost. And you can have a list and you can order your seeds.
So you can fill in this form with the information that's in the spreadsheet if you want to use these numbers. So you can see information like rows per bed, in-row spacing, number of beds. You can take that information and copy and paste it directly into here. So, let's talk about harvests quickly. Sort of jumping ahead from planning to harvesting, but you'll notice if you click on, let's go back to that spinach planting, maybe you're still there. You'll notice that that planting has a harvest tab.
Okay, everybody click on the harvest tab. So, did they click on the harvest tab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's pretend that if the spinach is going to be harvested on May 12th, and let's say it's May, and we're beginning to bring in our Corvair spinach from the field, and we want to keep track of our yields, right? It's really important to know how much we're pulling out of the field, not necessarily how much we're selling, but just how much is coming out of our field. So you can go to your harvest tab for that specific planting, Corvair, and add a new harvest. You can add a harvest two ways, by clicking on Add Harvest up here, or add a new harvest down here. So I'm going to click on Add Harvest. And you can see that it already knows the planting that you're harvesting, which is your Corvair. Now it chooses today as the date, assuming that you're doing this in real time. So we'll just say today we were harvesting spinach. We had an early crop, 13 days worth. And then we have to enter in our quantity. So this means that we've weighed how much spinach that we've harvested. So we put it on the scale, and let's say that we're measuring it in pounds. You can measure in other units of measurement if you want. So let's say we harvested 15 pounds of spinach. I can put in that quantity. We can also designate a status for that harvest. So if it's picked, it's just out of the field, we can mark it as picked. Again, this isn't necessary. You only need to put in your quantity, your date, and your planting. So I'm going to click Save. And just like that, we've kept a record of when we harvested our spinach, the quantity that we harvested, 15 pounds, and its status. If we had entered in other information, it would show up here. And right down here, it's really neat. It starts to keep a tally of how much of you've harvested of your spinach to date. So if I go in and add another harvest entry, we'll see that it tallies up the number of pounds I've harvested to date. So I'm just going to create another harvest activity. We'll say that I harvested, in the afternoon of the same day, I harvested 12 pounds. I click Save, and it tells me I've now harvested 27 pounds. I didn't ever put in an expected harvest for my spinach, but you can certainly do that, so you can track how well you're doing according to your plan. So again, expected harvest is put in on the edit sowing form. Let's say my expected harvest is 50 pounds for the season. Again, this is not required. Now when I go back to my harvest tab, it tells me how much I've harvested relative to my expected harvest. It's a good way to keep track of how you're doing based on your plan. Now you can do this for any planting on your farm. Now, harvest records are really important for understanding your profitability. You need to know how much, or also not just your profitability, but your productivity. So if you grow 2 varieties of spinach and you track your harvest yield for both varieties, you can see which ones did better on your farm, and then you can look at some other information you put into your account to try to understand why one did better than the other. But it really starts with looking at your yield.
So also you track your financial record with that also, right?
Right, you would use that for,
So much a pound, so much a pound.
right. If you looked at, you went to the market and let's say you sold, 26 pounds, or you might not sell this amount. This is just what's coming out of your field. It's not what you sold. Ag Square doesn't have sales tracking equipment. You're going to do that separately and then compare your records with your records in Ag Square. Really powerful tool here. If you're keeping track of your planting date, if the only thing you do in Ag Squared is keep track of your dates of your plantings, the number of seeds you grow, and then your harvest yields, you have a lot of great data which can help you improve your planting practices from one year to the next, and also make a projection. So if you know that you planted 300 seeds of spinach and you got 50 pounds, and next year you say, hey, I want to harvest double the amount of spinach, you double the amount of seeds, and you have all that information there, so you can augment and adjust. We can create another harvest record. We'll do it for peppers. So I'm going to click on my pepper plantings. I have a harvest tab, again, for my pepper. due date, but I'm going to add a new harvest. Let's play make-believe and say it's August, when we'll probably be harvesting peppers. And I'm going to harvest in pounds again. So maybe I harvested 40 pounds of peppers. I can put a description that says, for farmers market, peppers were a little bit small for this harvest. Maybe it's an early harvest and they're not fully matured. Something's wrong with my keyboard. So this is qualitative information that can be useful. So more than just knowing how much, you can look back and have some more description about your harvest. Click Save. And there I have my 40 pounds of peppers that I harvested on August 21st. And I can see that description come up right here. So if you're diligent about keeping track of your harvest records, when it comes time at the end of the year to see how your different varieties and crops did from the perspective of yield, all that information will be linked in your account and associated back to your individual plantings. So it's a really easy way to look up all of your harvests. Any questions about how to track harvests? Pretty straightforward for most people. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let me see what the story is of lunch before I jump into something. Alright, so everyone's attention for just 5 more minutes. So far, what have we done in Ag Squared? We've set up our accounts and mapped our farms, mapped something on our maps. We put in fields, and we put in beds, and then we started to create a crop plan. So we're really in the process of planning. It's setting a foundation on our map and then creating crops and plantings in our account. So this is really what you want to be doing at this time of the year, or even earlier in the winter as you're thinking ahead to your season. What am I going to grow next year? How much space do I have available? How much money do I have? Like how much seed can I afford? Do I want to purchase for 2014? And then making a crop plan, based on your resources available. Now, once you've done this in Ag Squared and put in your crop plan, and the season gets going, and you want to start managing your crop plan, or I should say implementing it, Ag Squared has tools that help you stay on top of your crop plan and try to help you stick to your plan. If you open up any one of your plantings and click on the initial sowing date, it will be highlighted in blue. When you do that, you'll be brought to the Ag Squared calendar. So click on any date that you've created for a planting. I'll go back and show you where that is. So I'm going to just look at my beets. And you'll see here I have initial sowing 4/28/2014. If you click on that date, so everyone go ahead and click on that date. And you'll be brought to a new page which shows that sowing date in a calendar. Did everyone see that? Click on an actual come into Ag Squared, click into your calendar, and today, let's pretend today is April 28th. You see what you have to do according to your crop plan that you did earlier in the season. So at some point you really thought about what do I need to do in April? I'm going to make a plan to plant my beets on the 28th of April. And you can see that information reflected in your calendar so you know what to do based on your crop plan. Now, what did we talk about yesterday? Like the rule of farming, or not the rule, but what always happens is that nothing goes according to your crop plan. So in Ag Squared, if you come up to April 28th and you say, I can't sow my beets today, I have a bunch of other stuff that I didn't do on Sunday, I need to do that a different day. You can go ahead, I'll just click on my beet right here. So this is an activity in my calendar. It's the terminology we use. And you can see, first of all of that information has come over. So you don't have to go back to your crop plan and look at, okay, how many seeds did I want to grow? Where is it going to go? That information is there for you. So you know what you have to do exactly on that day. It tells you which field it's in, the planting it's associated with. Now let's say I want to change this. So I'm not going to get to this until Wednesday. If you highlight the activity in your calendar, you see you get a little crosshair. You can reschedule your sowing to Wednesday by just clicking it and dragging it to Wednesday. And there you have your new sowing date for your beet. And the beauty about this is that it will update your crop plan. So you don't have to, we were talking about eliminating redundancy. Can you imagine if you had a paper calendar and a crop plan? You'd have to make the change in your paper calendar, cross out a bunch of stuff, pencil it into the new date, and go back to your crop plan and update the exact date. Here, you just do it once. Now, if I go back, if I open up this sowing activity, you can see now that this initial sowing date has been updated. If I click on this link, I can go back to look at the specifics of this crop in my crop plan, and I have that new initial sowing date of the 30th. So you can see here now how the tools are integrated. And their integration allows you to stay on top of your crop plan as you're working on your farm and as you're looking at the calendar. So, any questions about looking at your activities in your calendar or about that relationship?
That shows all the places you have.
So it shows the things that come over is all the information you've entered in about your sowing details, which we worked on. It tells you the planting location, so field number 1, bed number 1. And you can actually look up as a reminder of that location by clicking on the icon. And it will bring up your map. And it says, oh yeah, there's my field number 1. That's where my beet planting is.
Is there a number of places you can have?
And as many as you want. So, and again, you can go through and edit this activity. And enter in some different details. So here are all those details. You can edit these directly in the form. You can schedule it for a different time, and then there's also some additional details, which I won't talk about right now. But so lunch is happening right now. So we're going to look more at the calendar when we come back from lunch and look at how to schedule different activities. So how to water your beets, weeding your beets, you can schedule all that. And then you can do your record keeping directly in the calendar about when things actually got done on your farm. So